hate you both. I've hated you ever since I can remember. I hate you, and I wish you both had cancer. Cancer? Yes, in the head.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Are you telling me you built a time machine? Kind of a DeLorean?
This is the Stupid Answer Show.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Hello there, children.
Hey, kids.
People seem to like me because I am polite and I'm rarely late.
Don't worry, I got an idea.
And now, the host of the Stupid Cancer Show, Matthew Zack.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
All right.
Hello and welcome to episode 399 of the Stupid Cancer Show. We are the voice of young adult cancer. Coming to you from downtown Manhattan, I'm your host, Matthew Zachary, a proud 20-year young adult brain cancer survivor. The Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer. Find us online at stupidcancer.org.
I'm your co-producer, Mallory Rivera. I'd like to welcome all of our first-time and returning listeners. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or follow us on SoundCloud.
72,000 young adults are diagnosed with cancer each year. Sucks, huh? We change the world one chemo infusion at a time. And this show is no exception. On this episode, the politics of pink. It is October. For over 30 years, Breast Cancer Action, a nonprofit organization based out of San Francisco, has been seeking to achieve health justice for all women at risk of living with breast cancer while brilliantly disrupting the landscape around advocacy, cause marketing, and corporate accountability. Joining us are Karuna Jaggar, Executive Director, and Alyssa Figueroa, the campaign's coordinator, to discuss, among other things, pinkwashing and the not-so-subtle politics of breast cancer. Survivor Spotlight on the young adult survivor, and Jimmy Rancich. I heard good things about him. Jimmy Rancich. A big deal. 399? We really at 399?
We're at 399.
That's almost 400.
Yes, the next
Math.
one will be 400.
Math. All about the math.
Yes.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm just dandy.
Dandy, ducky.
Dandy, ducky.
You're
Delightful. All the above.
Fantastic. Yes? Okay. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Are you still on your high?
Yeah.
From what?
Toast.
What's toast?
Mr. Sandwich.
What's Mr. Sandwich?
It's a fundraising event.
It
happened.
Yes.
It was on Thursday.
Yes, the second annual Stupid Cancer annual fundraiser, Toast.
We got NASDAQ at NASDAQ.
Is that a verb now?
I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm coining it at this very moment live
Well,
on air.
you know, you realize that my measure of success isn't only necessarily how much money you raise, but it's when Laurel says we had good social media engagement.
We did.
Oh,
Thank you for everybody for engaging with us on our socials.
Hashtag Toast NYC, if you'd like to search.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
200 and some odd people came.
Yeah, 204. We had someone show, so 205 officially, and we raised $95,215.
Oh, is that all?
What?
Is that all?
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents came. You guys met my mom, right? None of you have met my mom yet, had you?
I had.
Oh, you did?
I
yeah,
had a rare mom sighting.
That's right. The thing we had a while ago here, right?
Yes, our friend Razor.
Yes, but Roz Greenswag came to Toast. Thank you, Mom.
Woo.
It's a big deal.
We love moms.
It was a really amazing event, and I'm still wrapping my head around how we pulled it off. Because we did it in 2015. It was kind of like, hey, let's just see if we can do something. And the issue is like, hey, let's see if we can actually do something and raise money. A lot of money. 3 times more money.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
See.
Met a lot of people. Thanks to everyone that came in support of the event. I got to tell you, I've been reached out to by dozens and dozens of people that I didn't even know were there, which is a good thing to have a room full of people I didn't know talk about what we're doing. And my dad schmoozed. My dad got business cards from people.
That's how you know things worked out real well.
Give this to your son. So he took pictures of them and were texting me the photos of the business cards. But really good stuff. Really, truly amazing stuff. And 2 weeks left, right, for OMG West?
We are 12 days away. So just under.
12 days away. Wow.
12 days away from OMG West.
All right. So you West Coast people who are listening to this very podcast, time to register at omgsummit.org and join your community. Or as Laura would say, join the movement in Orange County, California at UC Irvine campus. Can be really
in
big
Orange. Deal. It's UC Irvine campus
in Orange, which is in Orange County also.
Which is in Orange County. It gets a little
it does get a little
confusing.
Weird. So we have Emily McDowell from Emily McDowell Studios as our featured special guest.
I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm very excited. We love her. She's very entrepreneurial. She's a spitfire. It's good stuff. We had an interesting post on social, which, again, goes back to largely like the fertility conversation, which I believe is the core of our almost our public image, as we stand for the right to parenthood in a sense. But getting ovarian cancer in your 20s is different than getting blood cancer or bone cancer or colon cancer, because it is your very reproductive organs themselves. So, Laura, what's this piece about?
It really is following the story of young women talking about their journey from being diagnosed with ovarian cancer and how that affects the rest of their life. And I think that it's like you just said, it's like everything that we talk about here, how you have so much of your life left and you just don't see it coming. So much of your life is in flux in your 20s, and then to add this on top of everything else. And it's just the comments from it, again, was just everybody talking about, like, this is what I was doing, and this is how young I was when I was diagnosed, and it's just crazy.
Well, it is crazy. I was just on a call today with a colleague around how so we at Stupid Cancer do a lot of research. I probably have mentioned this on the show before, but we'll be publishing a study that we did with Dr. Catherine Benedict at Northwell a couple of months ago that showed 87% of women who were diagnosed in their fertile years didn't feel informed that their treatments posed a risk to their fertility and or were offered options. So when 87% of women are not even disclosed that information, you have to ask the question, why wasn't it disclosed? And the simple answer is because it's not the law to disclose it, versus what is the law to disclose? And that includes mostly major side effects, which threaten your life. And because infertility doesn't threaten your life, it's not considered a legal mandate to disclose. An article and an issue which we are taking up here at Stupid Cancer, how do we get the FDA to mandate fertility disclosure, the Miranda rights, so to speak, of parenthood and the risks of not being a mom or a dad, something we're very passionate about, which you'll see coming in the next couple of weeks and months. But that's a really big deal.
And I think what's interesting about this article, and it's mentioned also in the comments, is that it's not just the act of losing one's fertility, but also the emotions that invokes, or evokes. It's just you assume, so many people assume that that's going to be part of their life, and that's just what they imagine will happen when they're in their 30s and 40s. And it's just how quickly it gets taken away without them even knowing that it's going to be taken away. And it's not just that act, but it's also the emotions of that happening.
Yeah, there's a really great quote in the article that says, a lot of who I am is a result of having cancer. And she talks about how she always knew she was going to be a parent, but now she has to think about it in such a different lens.
Right. And we have had people on the show who have been told, oh, you already have a kid, it doesn't matter. So they are given the disclosure, but it's dismissed because you're presuming that patient doesn't matter, that they want to have other children, or many very akin to this conversation just woke up one day infertile. So clearly a young adult cancer specific issue that we are passionate about. So thank you for posting that. And if you want to learn more, just visit facebook.com/stupidcancer. And I think that's a good pivot point to kick off our show. In our spotlight, Jimmy Rancich is a 20-year-old who at 17 was diagnosed with NKT cell lymphoma after chemo and radiation, received a stem cell transplant, and later developed a secondary post-transplant brain cancer. But he's been cancer-free for close to 2 years now. We're very excited to have him share his story on the show. Please welcome Jimmy Rancich. Jimmy. Thank you so much. We don't get a lot of college crowd on the show, so it's very important we make sure that we understand how that is so different when you're not, just like, even in young adulthood, we the range is like 15 to 40, so we don't get like a lot of the under 21 crowd to share their stories, and it is really different than the 35-year-old story. You were diagnosed at 17. Was that in high school, or were you already in college?
So yeah, it was the summer of my sophomore going into junior year. I had this lawn service. I was cutting lawns, and one day I noticed my testicle was very swollen. And so, I waited a week or two, and then I said to my dad, I said, there's something going on with my testicle. And so he made me drop trout, and he looked at it. He says, we got to go. And at the time, I was still with a pediatrician. And so it was really weird showing this lady who I've known since my birth, my nut. And I love to joke about, all this stuff. As terrible as it can be, I think you still need to laugh about it. So I will be joking about it throughout the podcast. So anyway, they sent me to do an ultrasound, very awkward, of my nuts. And so they said, you need to get this removed. This looks really bad. And so I went on my 17th birthday, my golden birthday, I went to, a hospital. Why I'm blanking on the name, Northwestern Hospital. And the doctor just goes, yeah, you're going to have to get your testicle removed. So right now I'm going to do a full body exam because we don't have a PET scan for you right now.
Oh boy.
And so on my golden birthday, I had my first prostate exam. And it was
happy
awful.
Birthday, dude.
Happy birthday. I like the joke, what did the kid get for his birthday? Cancer joke.
Yes.
I feel it's kind of appropriate for my situation. So we sent the pathology all over and ultimately decided to get treatment at University of Chicago. And so I went on the pediatrician side, the pediatrics, because I wasn't ready for to be around 40-year-olds who are, not recovering as fast from their chemo, whereas these, 12 and 13-year-olds and younger than that are kind of still lively, even though it's really hard to see other kids with cancer. So I went through a chemo treatment called SMILE chemo, which is they all stand for the S stands for one type of chemo, the M for methotrexate, whatever. SMILE, great name for chemo.
That's hysterical. I didn't even know that. That's horrible and yet awesome at the same time.
Yeah, so they found out it was NKT cell lymphoma, which is a rare type of T cell lymphoma, which is pretty hard to kill. And so after that and the radiation, they said stem cell transplant, even though you beat the chemo, you got to get this so you make sure it doesn't come back. And so I went in on January, I'm going to say 22nd of 2014 to get the stem cell transplant. I had chemo that just absolutely knocks everything out of you. And then I remember the stem cell infusion. And then, I fell asleep one night and I woke up and my dad was holding my hand and I was just like, what happened? He's like, you've been asleep for 3 days. I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like, your sister visited you? And I woke up and I had like a catheter in and it was awful. But, after I started staying at the Ronald McDonald House because I still had to go every day for them to take my blood and this and that. And Ronald McDonald House is like a 5-minute drive from University of Chicago. And then eventually they let me go home. I wasn't allowed to have my dogs in my house, but I was allowed to be home, and there was a little normalcy after that. And things started getting better and better, and then about a year later in October, I was out and I was getting pizza, and I just noticed that something was funky with my vision. I couldn't really see out of the side of my left eye. And so I went and I got a PET scan, and I had a tumor in my brain. And so we started the chemo. We started chemo right away because you can't let that brain cancer, get to you.
Were you put
fast.
on Temodar for that?
Sorry?
Were you put on the drug Temodar for that?
I bet you I was. When you have brain cancer, you just don't know what's happening at all.
Right.
Your brain, my memory of going through all that was so limited. So I bet you I was. It sounds familiar, but the chemo killed it. The brains, I actually had a biopsy, and I still have this hideous wound on the back of my head. It ended up being in my right occipital lobe. That's why I'm having trouble with the left vision in my eye.
Well, we talk about the consequences of cure, especially in pediatric cancer. I was diagnosed at 21, and even though I wasn't a pediatric human being, I was treated in pediatrics, and it sounds like we had the same experience looking at tiny little children, and we were the adults in the room, so to speak, and our parents were the odd ones out because their kids weren't 4, and you were 17, I was 21, and then you're questionably out of the woods or on the mend, and then you get brain cancer because they tried to treat you. And
well, they did try to treat me, and then one day my mom and I went to Mario Tricoci to get a massage, and she had a masseuse who her husband had the same exact problem. He had lymphoma, then he had stem cell transplant, then he had secondary brain cancer. And she told us about CBD oil, which is extracted from marijuana. And this is known to cure seizures. A girl who was having like 200 seizures a day, I guess, had like 1 after she took it. And I've seen a video of a man who took it and then who had Parkinson's, and it stopped his shaking after like 15 minutes. And she told me that it had killed her husband's brain tumor after 2 weeks. So I had the scan, and then I took the CBD at night so I didn't feel the high for 2 weeks, and then I got a scan after that, and the brain tumor was gone.
There's a lot of science waiting to happen to legitimize these anecdotal studies, and we have so many books in the office, and now that it's been legalized for recreational use in so many states, there are these legit, like, billion-dollar venture-backed pop-up science projects that are doing all these double-blind studies and clinical trials to validate these stories. And I don't think anyone's trying to take that away from the legitimacy. But if there's a critical mass of evidence to support that this is something that truly makes a difference, I agree completely. And you shouldn't have had to randomly find out about it, and it just happened to work for you. But I'm glad you did. I think that a lot of the scrutiny is on how some of the strains have too much THC when all you're looking for is sort of to balance the pain and to take care of the biological part that it does. So
what I know about CBD is it's very clean, and we actually gave it to my doctors to send to the lab, and because we wanted them to be like, yeah, this is okay and it's not going to harm you or do anything to your immune system in any way. And so they tested it and they approved it. And from what I know, it's very clean compared to smoking marijuana or anything like that.
I agree. No, the cannabinoid oils are always out there in the public eye a lot more. It's less stigmatic, if you would, than actually smoking. But
I don't want to say I didn't get the munchies.
Well, the real trade secret here is that oncologists typically like to prescribe medicinal marijuana even when it's not legal in the state, because it does make their patients have an appetite. When often chemotherapy makes you...
I had a pill when I started my chemotherapy. I forget what the pill was called, prescription pill.
Right. But it sounds to me like this smile, which, as you point out so eloquently, is the exact opposite of what it really is and does, is not really conducive towards a thriving college student's lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. You're in college now. You beat cancer. What is that like? What's it like to be 20 in college in 2016 as a cancer survivor?
It's a little tough. I'm not exactly in the dorm I would like to be right now. The dorm I'm in is 90% international students. This is my sophomore year here, even though credit-wise I'm not a sophomore. Last year, when I was here, I was very fatigued and in a wheelchair because I had just beat the brain cancer, and so I had a hard time making friends. And so now, because of that sore, or whatever you want to call it, where I had the biopsy, I have to wear a hat all the time. So I'm not sure if people can tell because my hair is still really thin and my skin doesn't look too great. I'm not sure if people kind of stray away from me because I might look like I've had some sickness or something. But I'm a pretty open guy. I'm a pretty what's the word I'm looking for?
Gregarious, handsome.
I wish I could use the word handsome.
You're the Dos Equis guy, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's two sides.
I'm outgoing. I'm very outgoing, and I like to make friends. And I don't know if people are just kind of looking at me like trying to figure out what's going on with me.
Well, that's the stigma that a lot of people face, where if you do look sick, people will obviously want to naturally steer clear from you if they're completely ignorant. But when you start to look normal, again, quote, normal with quotes around it, and yet you still have side effects or lingering issues, it's the, but you don't look sick, get over yourself, there's nothing wrong with your conversation.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that is what it means to be living with, through, and beyond cancer. What are you studying now, and is it relevant to your experience?
So originally it was when I applied for the school of social work, and I with one class, because my doctor doesn't really think I should take more than 6 credit hours or whatever. So within one semester of taking a social work class, I was already burned out. I was so upset to learn about, impoverished people and all the other kind of craziness in the world that isn't just cancer. Because what I wanted to do in social work is help kids with cancer. And so it burned me out. I would go home. I would be so upset after class. And so I decided this year to just kind of take some things that might be more fun and more towards what I really enjoy, rather than something that'll make me, feel good about helping people. So I'm taking a media and cinema studies class, which I'm really enjoying.
That's wonderful. That's good stuff. So there is a huge movement now in the pediatric cancer space, any age, birth to I think 18 is where they cap it in certain clinics, and my clinic at the time went to 24. Some clinics today go to 26 because of the Affordable Care Act. It just depends. But are you aware, or have they made you aware, that there is or is not a program that follows your health long term to make sure, not just checkups, that things are okay, but do they monitor your mental health? Do they monitor your skills? Do they monitor your cognition? And are they able to measure your ability to thrive having had you go through this?
So the problem is that I live about a half hour away from the hospital, but that is a half hour without Chicago highway traffic. So a ride to the hospital can be anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours.
Wow.
So what they wanted me, originally when I got the cancer, they put me on Lexapro just so my I could stay positive and stuff like that. But after the cancer, they weren't able to prescribe it to me anymore without seeing a psychologist. And so I had to find my own psychologist and my own therapist that were closer to home, so I didn't have to make a 2-hour drive any given day of the week to go see these people.
Right.
And so I found one closer to me, and my therapist is actually really great, and her main focus is on quality of life.
Good. That's so important and goes under the radar so many times.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, she helps me to sort through when I have anxiety attacks about little things and how to react better to them and stuff like that, because I can deal with medical stress a lot better than I can deal with like homework stress right now.
Right.
But being away from home now, me and my mom are going to her together, and so every Tuesday my mom calls and I join in for the first 10-15 minutes of their session.
Well, I love that you were talking about how homework gives you stress, because that means things are returning to normal, because homework, I think, is just supposed to cause you stress. It's a good problem to have when homework is the only thing that causes you stress for the day.
Yeah.
So let's, we got about a minute or two left, but I want to talk about your project, Ladybug. It sounds very intriguing.
Project Ladybug is awesome. So when I was in the hospital for my transplant, there was the double doors, so, you know, no germs get in, bacteria and stuff. And one day my mom left to go get some coffee or something like that, and she came back and she brought in this big bag with all this crazy stuff on it, or in it, and like the one thing on the top were these slippers that had like ladybug faces on them. And then we look inside and there's like these BPA-free microwavable bowls and cups and stuff like that, and comfy pajamas and a bunch of movies and stuff like that. And so we didn't really know who left it. My mom sent them a thank you, and we found out that Project Ladybug was started in New Jersey by Real Housewife of New Jersey, Dina Manzo, and a woman named Laura Watarowicz started it in Chicago, or carried it on in Chicago. And what they do is they send a big like gift bag kind of to people who have extended stays in the hospital. And so I've kind of become good friends with them and helped them at fundraisers and stuff like that. And each bag is about $200, or I'm sorry, like $500 worth of stuff or something like that.
Well, that's, again, like this goes back to how do we make the process, you know, kind of suck less and make it a little more normal. That's incredibly admirable of you. So with just about a couple of seconds left, you are a long-term, technically 2 years is long-term pediatric cancer survivor in college now. What is something you wish that you had been told when you were diagnosed that you would like someone newly diagnosed to know today?
The biggest thing I take away is that when you start the chemo, you gotta take walks. You can't sit in bed all the time, because you're gonna lose all the strength in your legs. It's gonna become so tiring to even walk down to the bathroom. So you gotta take walks around the halls if they let you. Walks in your room. Just do anything to stay a little bit active. It'll make you feel a lot better too.
Jimmy Rancich, 20-year-old pediatric cancer survivor, currently enrolled in college, sharing his story with us. Check out the Project Ladybug. Is there a Twitter feed, or are you on social with that?
They are I think at Project Ladybug on Twitter. I'm pretty sure they have a website. But there's also the Chicago one, Atia's Project Ladybug.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Jimmy Rancich, everyone. And now, the news.
Hello, I'm Kent Brockman, and this is Eye on Cancer.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Stupid cancer does a whole lot of things, and here's what's happening now.
The OMG Cancer Summit for young adults started in 2008. In 8 years, 14 summits have brought together more than 6,000 people. On October 29th, join the young adult cancer movement in Irvine, California. OMG West is all about community. Learn more at omgsummit.org. Join us for a different kind of social mixture. No pressure, no judgments, no stigma. Best of all, no sitting around in a circle sharing your feelings. Find a meetup in your area at events.stupidcancer.org or host your own. Just go to stupidcancer.org/meetup. We have a meetup happening on October 29th in Boston, Massachusetts.
Fantastic. We want to see how you get busy living. Follow Stupid Cancer on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please don't forget to tag us at Stupid Cancer.
Join the movement. Show how you get busy living in your Stupid Cancer gear. Shop at stupidcancerstore.org.
We've been doing the show for nearly 10 years, and we want to hear more from you, our listeners. Tell us what you'd like to hear. Fill out our survey at stupidcancer.org/podcast survey and get 15% off the Stupid Cancer store. And that is your Stupid Cancer News. Our main segment here, the politics of pink. Breast Cancer Action has been seeking to achieve health justice for all women at risk of living with breast cancer while brilliantly disrupting the landscape. Around advocacy, cost marketing, and corporate accountability. Joining us, Karuna Jaggar, Executive Director, and Alyssa Figueroa, the campaign's coordinator, activist, education, nonprofit dedicated to achieving, as I said, just wrecking the way you think about breast cancer and setting everything straight, because they are just an extraordinary nonprofit. Please welcome Karuna Jaggar and Alyssa Figueroa.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You know, I realize that you guys are probably the only partner charity that has been on the show every single season since we started 10 years ago.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having us, Matt.
Oh, pleasure.
We love it.
So I can't stress enough that here at Stupid Cancer, we really don't care much about labeling cancer with ribbons and wristbands and celebrating different months, because there's just such an inequity facing every other cancer out there, or the fact that corporations take advantage of certain cancers that sort of skew the way we're supposed to equitize the quality of life of all cancer patients out there. And you guys just are breast cancer focused, but what you've done very specifically is sort of poke a stick at the advantages companies take against the layperson, the average consumer that wants to help. And we've had you on the show skewering major corporations and changing public health policies. And I mean, I can sing your praises at the end of the earth, but I would love you to start talking about, hey, how has it been 30 years? We're still fighting, and you guys are achieving so many incredible wins in sort of shifting the balance of power. Let's start with Karuna.
Well, again, thank you so much for having us year after year. You know, I wish we weren't here because I wish we weren't still facing a cancer epidemic. We were founded 26 years ago by a group of women living with and dying from breast cancer, and they wanted to make sure that their daughters and granddaughters didn't get the disease. But we know that the root causes of breast cancer are bigger than breast cancer. And so we never pit, as you say, you know, breast cancer against other diseases and disorders, against other cancers. We know that the same things that we need to do to turn the tide on this epidemic are going to benefit other cancers and other diseases and disorders. And so we've been really holding the spotlight up to the cancer industry since our earliest days. The cancer industry is when those companies that profit from and contribute to breast cancer work hand in hand with the nonprofits that supposedly represent patients, but all too often end up representing corporate interests.
And Alyssa, we got you on the show as campaigns coordinator at Breast Cancer Action. Tell us some of the things you're working on these days in the pinkwashing world and beyond.
Yeah, so this October we have our annual Think Before You Pink campaign. And so we're working furiously on that this year. You know, so every year we take on a different either corporation or organization that is pinkwashing. So that's when they're claiming to support women with breast cancer. It's usually by slapping a pink ribbon on their products, but they're actually failing to protect public health. So this year we are working on a campaign called Toxic Isn't Tasty. And we are calling on two citrus companies, two really big citrus companies in the U.S. And they are Be Sweet Citrus and Wonderful Citrus. And Wonderful Citrus, a lot of people may know the Halos Mandarins. They're a really popular a citrus brand. So Halos Mandarins, Wonderful Citrus is the company behind Halos Mandarins. And both of these companies use pink ribbons to sell their oranges. But they're also using oil wastewater to irrigate those oranges. And so what's happening kind of in California, a lot of people don't know, is the third largest oil producing state in the country. It also produces a bulk of the nation's fruits and veggies. And so what's happening is oil companies are sending off all this wastewater, their oil wastewater, that has chemicals in it. Toxic, cancer-causing chemicals have been found in this oil wastewater, and companies like Be Sweet and Wonderful Citrus are using it to irrigate their oranges. So we are calling on them to stop doing this, and because they're such big players as well, we're calling on them to use their power to stop the use of this happening in California altogether, because it really affects the whole country's food, because California produces so much of it.
So I'm guessing it's not good for your health to eat oranges that are cleansed in oil wastewater.
This is to be what's really going on here. I mean, the process is, this is kind of an emerging topic, and so it's kind of like, we just found out this is, a lot of people, environmental groups, health groups have just found out that this process is happening. And so the use of oil wastewater for crop irrigation, it hasn't been proven safe. And so we can't even say, we don't know, we can't say yet if the chemicals are being taken up into the oranges, if the chemicals are making their way into the oranges. But we do know that but it hasn't been tested. We did this whole thing, everyone's asleep at the wheel. And so we're calling for the precautionary principle, which is to make sure this is safe. This has to be proven safe before it's just used on our food. And so that's, kind of a clearer picture of what's going on.
So, aren't you glad we're doing this? Ha, ha, ha. I had to. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I had to go there. I couldn't not go there.
We're saying, aren't you sick of pinkwashing?
Oh, even better. Even better.
Yeah.
Wait, so I love how, because we do a lot of work in D.C. around the safer chemicals and the TSCA reform, and everything in the chemical world is guilty till proven innocent, because you just assume it's safe for humans unless it's proven not to be, versus let's just assume that everything that is out there with 9 syllables in it will kill you, but needs to pass the litmus test of human safety first.
Exactly.
Here are two companies which are trying to tell us how much they care about women's health and breast cancer specifically, and they're not taking the most basic step of ensuring their workers are not exposed to this oil wastewater, and that consumers are protected from any potential harms from irrigating crops with wastewater. We reached out to them, and they wanted to assure us how safe the process is, but as Alyssa noted, it simply hasn't been studied. There are no safety tests. When we look at the very limited preliminary tests on the crops, they're only looking at naturally occurring chemicals. They're not looking at all the chemical additives used in the oil production process. So we know that hundreds of chemicals are used in routine drilling to drill the wells, to maintain the wells, to clean the wells, and many of those chemicals are known carcinogens. There's a study that just got published by PSE Healthy Energy, and they found that close to half the chemicals are listed on Prop 65 or are known carcinogens, and over a third, we don't know anything about the health harms because they've been protected as health secrets. So there's no way that we know that the companies can say that this is safe because they're simply not looking. You will not find what you don't look for. And to evaluate naturally occurring chemicals in some preliminary tests is a start, but it's certainly nothing like what we need to show that this process is actually safe. And again, we know that workers are on the front lines. They're in the fields, they're in the orchards, and we're concerned about their health risks as well.
So there's two horribly disturbing things here. One is the fact that it's happening, but two is the fact that they're involved in a breast cancer cause marketing effort. Is that which is appalling if they're hawking produce that could potentially have cancer-causing components to it.
We feel like if they...
Oh, go ahead.
We feel like any company that is telling us how much they care about breast cancer should take the most basic step of protecting their workers and the public. If they try to tell us that this is just a small amount of water that they're using, how about don't use oil wastewater to irrigate your crops? How about take a basic step to ensure the safety of workers and the public until it has been proven safe?
Alyssa, did you want to add
Yeah,
to that?
I just wanted to clarify. So what they're doing, so Be Sweet Citrus, they have an actual pink ribbon right on their bags. They're Sweetheart Mandarin bags, and Halo's the Wonderful Citrus. In certain stores, they have pink ribbons. They're part of a pink ribbon produce program where they have pink ribbons near their products. And yeah, so that is the pinkwashing that is occurring. They're both using pink ribbons to sell their products while also using oil wastewater, and they have the power to definitely stop using it. These are two companies that, in a drought-stricken state, they are trying to expand. They are two companies that ship overseas, and so these are two companies that have the power to stop using this water and to influence the state of California to stop this process altogether.
But isn't there also a third layer here? Because in the past, you guys have taken on Yoplait and was it the one with the pots and pans or Tupperware or Rubbermaid or whatever, where just because you slap a ribbon on it, the average consumer thinks that they're supporting some kind of breast cancer research. And even if they are, there's like a cap or a limitation, or they're just completely blindingly making it pink to sell more pink products when in fact they sell the exact same thing across the shelf, without a ribbon on it.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. We know that cause marketing works. Companies do it because they make money when they put pink ribbons on products. So research shows if you put a pink ribbon on something, you will sell more of that thing, and companies will make more money. We also know that they're trying to benefit in the long term by generating good PR, good kind of consumer loyalty and goodwill. A lot of times, pink ribbon products are doing more for the company's bottom lines than they are doing for any breast cancer or other cancer organization. So, as you noted, sometimes companies just put a pink ribbon on something and no money goes to any charity, goes to any organization actually working to meet the needs of people living with and at risk of cancer. Other times, there's a cap on the donation, and you have no way of knowing if the thing that you're about to buy, if your purchase is actually going to contribute to a charity, or if the company's already met their cap and every penny of your purchase goes straight to the company's, bank account. We also know that with breast cancer in particular, there's an overemphasis on awareness. So the question is any money going to a breast cancer organization? And if so, which organization? And what is that organization doing? Do you think that we need more awareness? Or do you actually think we need some action to really turn the tide on the epidemic? Do we need research to develop more effective, less toxic treatments? And if you have any doubts about that, we encourage folks to give directly to those charities that are doing the work that you think is most impactful. When we began this program, we were talking about pinkwashing, and that's just the most hypocritical examples of companies that are selling pink ribbon products, claiming to care about breast cancer, but are failing to take the basic steps to make sure that their products and services don't contribute to increased risk of the disease. So at Breast Cancer Action, as an independent watchdog for the breast cancer movement, we're really here demanding accountability and transparency in breast cancer fundraising and providing people with some questions so that they can make an informed decision about their own purchase when they're thinking about pink ribbon product.
And I'll also sing your praises. You've actually changed corporate policy in the past as well. And there's another factor here, too, which is even more confusing for the consumer, is when they use the phrase, a portion of the proceeds will benefit breast cancer something, without disclosing anything, which is just another sleazy way to get people to buy your product without committing to doing anything.
That's right. I think, we know that there are a lot of companies making a lot of money because people care about breast cancer. And a lot of women who have or are at risk of breast cancer feel like their disease is really being exploited by these companies. Pink ribbons are not inherently bad, but they're also not inherently good. And so anybody who wants to make a difference with their dollar deserves to know how much of their purchase is going to go to a breast cancer organization, and what is that organization going to do? And as you say, a lot of times it's cloaked in some really, vague language around a portion of proceeds. How much? Is that enough? Do you feel like it's enough? Maybe you're better off skipping that high-priced pink ribbon product and going ahead and making a donation directly to an organization that's doing work that you really believe in, that you think is going to make a difference.
So, Alyssa, regarding the campaign for this specifically, who is your audience? How do you reach out to them, and how do you measure the needle on, does this company, pick a different method to use in their agribusiness, or is this really public shaming on social, or I love if you go to bcaction.org, right on your homepage is a bunch of oranges covered in oil with a pink ribbon on it. I can't think of a better visual to disgust me and make me do something about that. But how are you specifically reaching out for this?
Yeah, we're using our, Facebook and Twitter. We're reaching out to our members. We're emailing our members. We're also part of a coalition of 10 organizations who are working on this issue as well, and they're helping spread the word. And we're calling on people. We're using those images. We're explaining this issue of because it's a funny thing, because oranges in general, you see oranges, unlike our past campaign, some perfume or cosmetics, like oranges are almost a symbol of health, right? And so it's an interesting campaign of taking something that's so symbolically healthy and explaining what these companies, these greedy companies behind these fruits are doing. And so we've been really trying to hype that up, just the hypocrisy of oranges. Like, now oranges are potentially...
I know, right? It's nothing sacred.
And it's so great that you're, helping us to spread the word, because it's all about letting people that know about the issue. So, we're thrilled to be on. We love all the times that you've helped us get the word out and help people ask these questions. And so it's all word of mouth. It's all spreading the word and telling your friends.
I also want to talk about Barbara Brenner. And her book, So Much to Be Done, which is out. I was she was such an inspiration to me when I got this organization off the ground 10 years ago. And, her life and her legacy is so embodied in everything that you do. And I channel her through all of my angst and anger toward the establishment. Can we talk about her a little bit in this book?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you knew her and, feel like your work is carrying on her legacy. We here also carry her closely, and really she has shaped so many people's thinking and work around cancer.
So the book is So Much to Be Done, The Writings of Breast Cancer Activist Barbara Brenner. I have not read it. I'd love to get a copy of it, but can you talk about what are some of her writings?
Yeah, it's a really powerful anthology, and it it's really broken into two parts. And the first part is her breast cancer activism. And, it really spans a good solid 15 years of thinking and writing across a range of issues. And it's powerful to see the evolution in thought, and also to see how much of that early writing is still rings true today, is still, so insightful and important today. As you know, Matt, she died of ALS, not of breast cancer. And the second half of the book is really about her health activism as an ALS patient. And again, I think being able to bridge from breast cancer to another disease and see the commonalities and similarities across illness and disease is really important and impactful. And a lot of her writing is just, timeless. It's still relevant today to a lot of the issues that we're facing today.
Right, and it also broadens the breadth of, all the crap in our agribusiness products that could be causing all sorts of other ridiculous things to our children and to ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, to turn the tide on the cancer epidemic, we have to change the fundamentals of how we live. As you said, we can't assume that chemicals are innocent until proven guilty. We need to take a life course approach where we're looking at everything from, fetal exposures and other chemical exposures over the course of our lives. This is not just something that we can fix by getting rid of one chemical in one individual product. We need to really look at the cumulative exposures over the course of our life, the combinations of chemicals, and recognize what that's doing to our health.
And I can't stress enough how the narrative is like, so many charities are just nice to have, but you guys over 30 years have truly changed behavior in industry. What would you consider, because I have a personal opinion on this, but what would you consider, since you started working there, one of the biggest victories for breast cancer action?
Yeah, well, so we work as a watchdog both around the root causes of disease, and some of that's our work with Think Before You Pink and the pinkwashing. And so no question, the Put a Lid on It campaign that you mentioned with Yoplait and Dannon was impactful. As a result, they stopped using dairy produced with the synthetic growth hormone RBGH in their yogurt, and that affected, I think, about 2/3 of the dairy industry. And that was a really big win. Just 2 years ago, we saw Komen's pink fracking drill bits for a cure.
Oh, God, I remember those.
There was the KFC partnership where Komen partnered up with Kentucky Fried Chicken for buckets for a cure. There was our Raise a Stink campaign where Komen sold a perfume called Promise Me that had known hormone disruptors and other chemicals of concern. And so you're right, we're really looking to make change. But we also, some of our work is on the regulatory side. We were the only breast cancer organization that was a plaintiff in this lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and where we won, challenging a patent on the human breast cancer gene. So I'm sure you have a very savvy membership that understands that all of us have BRCA genes, whether we have breast cancer or not, and that for some families there's mutations that can confer an increased risk of breast, ovarian, and some other cancers. Well, Myriad Genetics did patent the human gene and all known variants. And the result was that the cost of the test went up, that there was there were barriers to progress in targeted therapies. And in particular, women of color were really, they were more likely to get this test result that said they have variant of unknown significance. So I feel really proud of the work that we did to challenge the patent on the BRCA gene, and the result was that not only was Myriad's patent overturned, but the Supreme Court ruled that no company could patent any naturally occurring DNA. That's human, animal, or plant. That was a 5-year suit. It began under Barbara, and we won in 2013, just a few years ago. So I feel like we've done a lot of great work over the years, and it's because we're grassroots. It's because people have our back. It's because when we raise our voices together, we really can make change, and we can go toe-to-toe, against industry and giant corporations that are really putting their profits before public health.
Right. And again, I can't stress enough that you guys actually do incredible things. And I wish we could help you 24 hours a day. Everything we do is in your favor because we are the community that gets just as angry as you are and you're helping to channel them to make a difference. And I remember the campaign against Myriad around how do you patent a human gene, and it's inconceivable that that's even something we have to fight against. But congratulations again. Is it really your 30th year in business, or
26? We just celebrated our 25th last year.
Wow, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. You're like the turtle that made it to the ocean.
Yeah. Well, we can't do it alone. We need partners and allies like you. It's all of us raising our voices together. That is truly how we make change.
So before we wrap up, what are some of the other things? Clearly, you're focused on pinkwashing because it's October, but it's a year-round thing. I see pink things in the stores in July just because they can. What else have you got on your docket?
Yeah, so just one more push. If for this campaign, definitely go to bcaction.org/toxic isn't tasty to take action. You're not just signing a petition, you're actually sending an email directly to the president of Be Sweet and Wonderful. And yes, pink washing happens all year round. We just, in the spring, we did a educational campaign about 4 questions to ask before you participate in a breast cancer walk. And so that's a new resource for our members as well who have been asked to participate or donate to a breast cancer walk. And then outside of our pink ribbon marketing work, we also do work around the environments, like you said, chemicals, chemical reform, a lot around fracking, and we also do work around treatment and screening and diagnosis work as well.
Well, absolutely extraordinary work. I can't speak highly enough of Breast Cancer Action. Karuna Jaggar, Executive Director, Alyssa Figueroa, Campaigns Coordinator. The website is bcaction.org. Twitter is, and what's your handle these days?
At BC
It's BC Action.
There you go. Nice brand consistency right there. BC Action on Twitter. Thank you so much. I hope to get out to the Bay Area more often. Any follow-up, any final thoughts?
No, thank you so much for having us, Matt. Truly, it's an honor to be with you, and you do great work as well. So it's fantastic to have this chance to chat together. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Breast Cancer Action, everybody. Aren't you glad we did that topic?
Yes, actually, I happened to sign the petition and send the emails. It was really easy through their website.
Aren't you glad you did that? I'm so sorry. I'm going to leave now.
No, it's really easy to sign up if you just go to their website. It's like 4 clicks and enter in your name and email address. It's great.
They really do make it easy. All right, cool. Well, episode 399, I can't believe that. It's a big deal. All right, with that, our closing sequence.
Prepare to activate.
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
And so, to all of you, a fond farewell.
Hooray, I'm helping.
You are a meathead.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
That's our show, the 399th episode of The Stupid Cancer Show. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or follow us on SoundCloud.
I'd like to thank our guests, Jimmy Rancich, Karuna Jaggar, and Alyssa Figueroa. Breast Cancer Action, bcaction.org. The Stupid Cancer Show is a production of Stupid Cancer, the largest charity comprehensively addressing young adult cancer. Find us online at stupidcancer.org. Coming to you from downtown Manhattan, on behalf of the team here at the Stupid Cancer Show, we hope you had as much fun as we did poking a stick at Stupid Cancer. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time. Goodbye, folks.